Welcome to the debate. When you watch a piano tuner at work, there's this beautiful simplicity to it. They strike a tuning fork, the metal vibrates at an exact frequency, and they just tighten the piano string until it matches that vibration perfectly. It's the pure physics of resonance.
Right. But there is a massive difference between a piece of tuned steel and a living human brain. I mean, the multi-million-dollar digital drug industry wants us to believe we can just, hack our focus or our sleep with a Spotify playlist. But the clinical data is telling a much darker, much messier story.
Exactly. Today, we are breaking down the principles of brainwave entrainment. This is the idea that acoustic sound waves can actually tune the human brain.
Yeah, specifically exploring the whole phenomenon of binaural beats.
Right. So the concept is if you play a 400 hertz tone in your left ear and say a 40 hertz tone in your right ear, your brainstem's audio mixing board.
The superior olivary nucleus.
Exactly. It takes those two conflicting signals and essentially synthesizes a third, phantom beat of 40 hertz, supposedly syncing your brainwaves to that target frequency.
And the central disagreement we are tackling today, which is grounded entirely in recent physiological studies and literature reviews, is whether that phantom beat actually forces your massive cortical networks to sync up. Is this a biologically robust mechanism that reliably alters neural oscillations? Or is this just a relaxing placebo effect wrapped up in a ton of technological hype?
Well, I represent the side that looks at the evolutionary and physiological data and sees a deeply rooted biological mechanism, one with real, measurable therapeutic benefits.
And I represent the perspective that looks at those exact same systematic reviews and sees completely erratic clinical data. It is plagued by null results and just massive inconsistencies.
Okay, just to be clear for anyone listening who uses like white noise or lo-fi beats to study, we aren't saying background noise isn't relaxing.
No, definitely not.
Right, we are specifically debating whether a mathematically engineered frequency is literally hacking your neurons to fire at a different speed. And I argue the biological precedent for synchronization is fundamental. I mean, it dates back to 1665 when Christian Huygens observed that pendulum clocks placed near each other eventually sync their swings.
Right, the physics of entrainment.
Exactly. It is a physical law, but it's also human biology. We see it in maternal-fetal cardiac coupling in the womb, for instance. Val Danillo's theory points this out beautifully. Our neural networks are hardwired to synchronize with external rhythms.
Look, yes, natural biological rhythms absolutely exist. Nobody is disputing that. But jumping from, say, natural circadian clocks to assuming you can force the brain to adapt an artificial audio track frequency, that is a huge leap.
But the mechanism!
The EEG data just doesn't consistently support it. The brain definitely creates that auditory illusion in the brainstem, sure. But look at rigorous studies like the one by Lopez Caballero. They found that binaural beat stimulation utterly failed to enhance EEG power or emotional arousal. Multiple systematic reviews note that slight variations in experimental design lead to completely contradictory brainwave readings. The brain doesn't just passively surrender its complex network to whatever sound you pipe into your ears.
Wait, let me give you a better way to visualize what the data suggests is actually happening. Think of the brain like a series of metronomes resting on a wobbly wooden table.
Okay.
If you start one massive heavy metronome ticking loudly, that is our binaural beat, the vibrations travel through the table, forcing all the smaller, erratic metronomes to eventually click into the exact same rhythm.
I like the metronome analogy, I really do. But you have to prove the table is actually transferring that vibration to the rest of the brain, the cortical networks, not just the brainstem.
We actually have direct intracranial evidence of exactly that transfer.
Wait, intracranial?
Yes. Look at the Beecher study from 2015. They didn't just use surface sensors on the scalp, they had patients with implanted electrodes, giving us a literal inside look deep into the brain tissue.
Oh, I know this study.
When exposed to acute auditory stimulation, these patients showed significantly increased mediotemporal synchronization. The deep brain structures actually started firing in rhythm with the stimulus.
Hold on. Look at who you are studying there, though. You are citing the Beecher study. Those are patients with severe temporal lobe epilepsy.
True, but it still proves the physical mechanism.
But epileptic brains are already prone to hypersynchronization. That is literally what a seizure is. It's an abnormal, highly synchronized firing of neurons. You cannot map that hyperexcitable tissue onto a healthy college student trying to study for a math test and expect the exact same result.
I see the distinction, of course, but we do have robust data on healthy populations, particularly when it comes to cognition and working memory. When we target high-frequency binaural beats like beta or gamma up around 40 Hz, we see verifiable improvements.
Verifiable?
Yes, in cognitive control and divergent thinking in healthy adults. It is practically enhancing how they process information.
Let's talk about the actual human experience there, though, because the literature heavily contradicts this idea of a flawless digital study drug. People put these headphones on expecting to become instant geniuses. But in a massive study of 1,000 participants, listening to binaural beats during cognitive tasks actually decreased their performance scores.
Decreased? But why did it decrease? The meta-analyses point out that this is highly dependent on exposure duration and what the beat is masked with.
Well, sure.
If you blast a raw, unmasked frequency into someone's ears for too long, of course it is going to be distracting.
It's not just distraction, though. It is cognitive overload. The brain is expending so much energy trying to process this conflicting auditory illusion in the brainstem that it pulls resources away from the actual cognitive task. It causes habituation, meaning your brain gets tired of processing the phantom beat and your working memory actually suffers. Going back to your analogy, if your heavy metronome is banging on the table, it is knocking all the other metronomes over, not syncing them up.
Okay, if prolonged exposure risks cognitive fatigue, I completely understand why that makes you skeptical of using it as a continuous background track. But that is exactly why precision is so critical, especially as we transition into clinical applications.
Clinical applications make me even more nervous.
Hear me out. The goal isn't just to play sounds on a loop all day. In controlled bursts for anxiety and pain management, the results are incredible. We have studies showing these beats significantly reduce perceived pain and preoperative anxiety during really invasive procedures like diagnostic cystoscopies. As a targeted, non-invasive intervention, it is a huge frontier for emotional regulation.
But if it is causing cognitive overload in healthy students who are just studying, taking this into severe clinical psychiatry is a massive risk. Let's look at major depressive disorder.
You're going to bring up the Dangruan trial.
Exactly. The Dangruan randomized controlled trial. They gave MDD patients 10 Hz binaural beats alongside their standard care. The result? Absolutely no significant difference in depression scores compared to the control group.
Well, depression is complex.
Right, and it makes perfect sense why it failed. Depression isn't just a simple frequency deficit that you can fix by turning a dial. It is a highly complex chemical and structural issue.
I completely agree. Depression is multifaceted, but the mechanism of entrainment...
It gets worse, though. In some studies targeting the theta frequency range, participants actually reported heightened feelings of depression after listening.
Wait, really? Heightened?
Yes. The auditory stimulus didn't lift them out of their state. It anchored them deeper into sluggish, low-frequency rumination. That proves this intervention is wildly unpredictable. Calling it a reliable therapy right now is just incredibly premature.
I see your point about the variability. I really do. The human brain is infinitely complex, and yes, the methodological noise in the data right now is loud. But I maintain that the biological precedent for neural entrainment is undeniably real. Whether it's Huygens observing pendulum clocks syncing up centuries ago or modern intracranial readings, the fundamental physics of resonance apply to us. It offers a fascinating, completely non-invasive frontier, provided we keep refining our understanding of how these frequencies actually interact with our neurochemistry.
And I maintain that labeling these audio tracks as digital drugs is currently a massive overstatement. The stark contradictions in the EEG data, the completely failed clinical trials in major depression, and the sheer unpredictability of the human response It all tells us we are very far from reliably controlling this phenomenon.
Though I think we can certainly both agree that the human auditory processing network is an absolute marvel of complexity. The physical environment, the literal sound and light waves we are exposed to every day undeniably impacts our mental states.
Oh, absolutely. Even if the exact mechanism of entrainment requires much more rigorous scientific validation, the environment-brain connection is very real.
It is a great reminder of the value of looking closely at the data before simply accepting popular wellness trends. We encourage everyone listening to dive deeper into the source material and explore how their own brains might react to acoustic stimulation.
The science is definitely still writing this symphony.
Indeed. So the next time you hear a tuning fork or simply put on your headphones to focus, ask yourself, are you just listening to the music, or is the music literally rewriting your mind?